What's up, everybody? This is Arky Booms, and today we are going to be looking at the Shadow Priest. Yes. Okay, basically, we're going to go over the first few changes to Shadow Priest. The foremost that I think we should get right off the bat is Mastery. Shadow Priest Mastery has changed. It no longer increases your periodic damage, but instead gives your periodic shadow damage spells, Vampiric Touch, Devouring Plague, Shadow Word Pain, a chance to tick twice. And another change that actually brings about that is Devouring Plague. You'll notice that it says all shadow orbs, and your shadow orbs are right up here. And basically, you get these shadow orbs by mind blasting. And then you can use it to cast Vampiric Touch, which in return can proc off your mastery to tick twice, like that. Anyway, that's the major change is the way that Devouring Plague works, is now it works off your shadow orbs, and Mind Blast gives shadow orbs. Shadow Word Death also gives shadow orbs, but the only way that you can actually effectively use it, because you can't use it anymore unless the target's below a certain percent. The only way to do that would be to glyph it. I have not tested the glyph yet, as I haven't found any really on the auction house, but in my opinion, the damage Shadow Word Death does at execute range, the 20% mark, is just too good to mess up. But we're going to go ahead and go over talents. The first talent, we have the option between Void Tendrils, Fiend, and Dominate Mind. Now what these are is, Dominate Mind is mind control on a 30-second cooldown. It's quite nice, but at the same time, we also have Void Tendrils. Void Tendrils would work like this. Let's say I was right here and I dropped them. This guy over here and this little gentleman over here would be rooted. Whereas Fiend, I get to place it, like so. So let's say we're doing a heroic, and I have to CC this guy. Let me go ahead and mark him. I have to CC Star. Star CC'd, run over here, CC these. That simple. That's why I honestly prefer Fiend. Now the second row. This is your get out of jail free cards. Basically we have Body and Soul, which when you use it, it makes you run faster after you use your bubble or life grip. Angelic Feather. This one's just really buggy. Basically it's an ability that works sort of like the Fiend, where you get to place it, and if you run over it, you get movement speed. I can see it working in some scenarios or some fights, but overall, I chose Phantasm just for the fact that the Fade removes your snares, and I played Shadow Priest last season. And it's just something I'm used to, so I just went for the comfortable feeling. Now, the level 45 tree. I have tested all three talents, because these are basically DPS talents. From Light Comes Darkness basically gives you a chance to use Mind Spike, and it won't take off your shadow orbs, or your dots. And it hits for double damage. It's very nice. But proc chances in a rotation starts becoming more priority-based, whereas there's always going to be a priority base for a Shadow Priest. I find that using this just complicates it more for only 20 DPS gain over the other two. Now, for Mindbender and Power Word Solace, I tested both of them, and their damage is pretty much uneven. I did 4-minute tests, and they were only 20 points off. And the Mindbender did more damage, Power Word Solace did 20 more DPS. So I decided to go with Mindbender, 1-minute cooldown, easy to keep up with, nice damage. Now the level 60 talents. You have the Angelic Bulwark, which is basically a bubble when you get below a certain amount of health. And the way this bubble works is, let's say you get to 30% health, you get a bubble equal to 20% of your health. So if you have 100,000 health and you go to 30,000, you get a bubble that will absorb 20,000 damage. Simple math. Now for Spectral guys, it's basically like a mini vanish. You sort of disappear off the map and this little thing comes in and you take no damage for the 6 seconds, as long as you're not hit 3 times. Desperate Prayer. I went with Desperate Prayer just out of the fact that I like the ability. It's one of my favorite ones that Priest actually got. And it's just a nice solid hero, 40k, 2-minute cooldown. That's nice, healer's falling behind, you're in an execution phase or anything, hit it. Easy spell. Now the third tree. I was actually debating between Twist of Fate and Divine Insight. Now I tested them both in the Raid Finder, and Twist of Fate was nice, but a lot of your damage actually comes from being able to use that Devouring Plague and your dots. And what Divine Insight does is let you get that Mind Blast out. Instant, resets it, no mana cost. And to me, that was the game changer, just being able to use it. Now we're going to go over the glyphs. The glyph for Shadow is it's not really something that you actually have to choose. Like, a lot of these are somewhat straightforward on what you should be using, and others of them are like, can I use this, or should I use this? Like, I chose Psychic Scream for CC, that way they don't run away, for dungeon purposes, obviously. And the other option I chose was Glyph of Fade, because now Fade not only gets you out of snares, but it becomes a minor damage absorption cooldown. it takes 10% less damage, which is always nice. The third option was Dark Binding. You can cast Prayer of Mending, Renew, and Leap of Faith without canceling Shadow Form. I primarily got this for Leap of Faith. That way, if my team member is standing in the fire, I can get him out of there, get to safety, save the day. The minor ones don't really matter. They're not necessarily a necessity. They're more for aesthetics, so we don't really need to go over those. Now for the rotation. The rotation for Shadow Priest is pretty much a priority system. You're going to want to keep your Mind Blast on cooldown on the target. And you're always going to want to have Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain up. If you have Vampiric Touch up, Shadow Word Pain up, and your Mind Blast is on cooldown, use Mind Flay. Now we're going to go over a quick rundown. We're going to do a 1-minute test. Go ahead and pull out the stopwatch. And it's going to start when I hit the target dummy with my Mind Blast. Let's get started. So we're going to Mind Blast, start the watch, Vampiric Touch, Shadow Word Pain, and we're going to start Mind Flaying to get the damage out. Now as we're Mind Flaying, we got to keep an eye on Shadow Word, or Mind Blast. Mind Blast is coming up, hit it. Now, I like using my Mind Bender with my Devouring Plague, just because simple, keep the cooldowns in check. Now here we got Mind Blast up, and this is going to be the third, so we're going to pop that with the Mind Bender. We also got a proc for another Shadow Word, so now we're just going to keep going with the rotation, just keep the priorities in line. Keeping dots up, keep rolling, got Mind Blast back up, hit Mind Blast again. Right now we're pulling 22k solid, it's looking nice. Now another thing we're going to go ahead and go over while we're doing this is Vampiric Touch is now a raid-wide healing cooldown. And it's really nice to use when your raid gets in one of those oh shit moments. I'll go ahead and pop it actually. And you'll notice it starts healing for truckloads. It's not necessarily a whole lot, but it's that little bit that always helps. That 4k that your tank could have died by. Now we're going to go ahead and refresh the dots, and our minute is up. Well, close to. I paused at 59. But nevertheless, we pulled around 20 to 22k DPS, pending spikes, RNG. And I think that's fairly decent for a Shadow Priest. Not a very difficult rotation, but fun nonetheless. And the healing is nice. I mean, very good survivability from a Shadow Priest, and I hope to see more Shadow Priests actually playing and raiding in the future. Thank you guys for watching.